Oh, well. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First on the agenda is, do we have any additions or modifications to the agenda this evening? Okay, hearing none, we'll approve the agenda as presented. Next is consent agenda. And the consent agenda, is there anything that the board, a board member feels need to be removed prior to voting? Hear any additions? So we'll go ahead and entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. Any discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Jamie?
Yes.
Russ?
Yes.
Soren?
Yes.
Christine's a yes. All right, patron comments. Laura, do you have any patron comments that have come in? There are none presented, so we'll move to reports. First up is the superintendent report.
So I will go over kind of what we've been doing and then I'll talk about data. So we actually, for some reason, just kept getting audited. So we did our first food service audit on Wednesday, which yesterday. It went, I will tell you, it went very well. They were very, ODE was very, commended Eric and Kaylee for their professionalism and how they serve the food. And we're very impressed in how our program ran. We are going to get a letter from them probably in a couple of weeks with 5 things we need to do, but they are very minimal things, such as we have to have the wellness policy. I mean, that was literally one of their findings. And one of the other findings is we had to put the non-discrimination policy on all of our menus. So there's the second finding. And so I was very, excuse me, I was actually really surprisingly happy about how well. We thought we were going to have to do some more, but it was great. So that's the first audit. Dawn is working with Roxy and Laura and Bryn, and he's almost done with our financial audit, which has been quite a haul for Dawn. And they will be at the December meeting to present to the board our audit for the last year, so the 22-23 fiscal year. And then the third audit is that we are getting our transportation audited with WLA, but Bart and I are working with them to prepare. We've done the pre-audit that is due in November, and then they're going to come in February to kind of look at stuff. So that's the first one. Division 22 standards I'll be presenting tonight. The evaluation and support system is what we have to do as teachers and administrators. It started last year, but it wasn't truly fully implemented. We are right at the very beginning of getting the first part of it implemented. It will be fully implemented this year. And so that's the teacher evaluations, the formals, the documentations, different things like that. Keenan and the Giggies and I are really working hard. So we are ensuring that the fences and gates are working. Keenan and I are actually starting to go through the exterior doors and replace the ones that are needing to be replaced because we have a lot of them. And so we're kind of prioritizing them by groups of 4. Dawn's been working with the Giggies. I am very happy to say that we did get our $65,000 from ESSER.
Good job.
It was super amazing. We're still waiting for Benton County to get the permits for the restrooms. Keenan finally called them and said, "What's up?" And they said, "Well, we need your architect plans." And Keenan went, "Yeah, I sent them 2 weeks ago." "Oh, well, we need your plumbing plans." "Yeah, I sent those 2 weeks ago too." "Oh, well, now you need to fill out this form." And he said, "And nobody told me 2 weeks ago." So we're still working on that. The other thing that just came up is the district had an asbestos tap grant that's up at the end of December. And when Keenan had spoken in the previous years, like last year, they were told that it had already been spent. And we couldn't figure out where it had been spent. So we actually were in contact with ODE and then somebody, I think, out of Corvallis. And they're going to allow us to purchase services for asbestos, like the 6 months, make it a check and things like that. And we can still use that money. We just have to purchase it before December 30th. So Keenan and Dawn are actually working on that to get us pretty much 2 years out in asbestos checking, and as well as helping us update our asbestos plan. So that just actually happened today. We got the email and we have it going. And then the data systems, we're going to talk about that. I think it's really important as we move forward to really start looking at our data. I think that'll help with budgeting and kind of the direction in which we can start focusing our energies. I'm going to throw a lot of data at you tonight, which I'm excited about. It may not look spectacular, but you know what? It's our data. We're going to own it and we're going to work to improve it. And I think that the teachers have really started to really embrace that piece. And then I have been going to what it's called the Valley Coast Superintendents Association and Special Education meetings. Last night I went to the OSBA off the record meetings. I've been really trying to get ALSI out there so people can see us. Really, a lot of it is also really making connections. So when we have, we're a small district, so special education sometimes is really hard when you're only working with, a department of 2. So it's really great to have the ability to have the department so you can call people when needed. And so I spent actually 2 days in Newport with the superintendents in our regions. And then I went to a SPED conference, a national, or not national, God, Oregon's national now, a state SPED conference with the COSA superintendent meetings. And I do monthly SPED meetings with Hungerfords. And so, and then Soren asked for this piece. So I put this at the very end. Last month, we wanted to know, out of our brick and mortar students, how many actually live in district and how many live out it. And it's pretty much a 50-50 split. Laura ran a report and we got that going. So, we're not looking at 75. It's literally, Laura said, a 50-50 split in building. So.
Do we have data to know how many district kids are not attending? What percentage?
The hard part on that is, and I wish we could, and we're working on that, is that technically, if our district kids leave, they're supposed to be doing inter-district transfers. And I don't know if that's been done well. I know personally, I've probably signed 5 this year, but I know of at least 10 more that have gone. And so that's something we're talking about at our superintendent meetings, that we really need to do that. So we have that data, but it's really hard. And some places say you have to fill out an inter-district transfer every year. And some places go, nope, you do it once and you call it good. So we can guesstimate, but it's on that piece. So the next one I wanted to show you all was our attendance data. So attendance data, this is called the regular attendance data. So there's a difference between average daily attendance and regular attenders. The average daily attendance is how many kids you have in each class on a particular day. Regular attenders is the number of kids who have attended 90% or more of the school days. So through October 1st, and this is between both brick and mortar and learn at home, our regular attenders is only about 65%. So 6 out of every 10 of our kids are coming to school 90% or more. So that right there means in the month of September, August and September, we had about 47% of our kids miss 2 or more days of school.
We probably need a breakout of learn at home versus brick and mortar on that, because
we could do that.
there's
One of the
probably
things,
a pretty significant difference there.
well, I would say yes, but no, because if you look at our seniors who was on.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at that, but
Yeah, we can do that next time as well, but it's
It's unfortunate.
It is. I mean, our eighth graders, we only have 53% of our eighth graders are coming 90%.
What is the benchmark for being absent? Is it 1 hour, 30 minutes, 5 hours, 4 hours? What's the benchmark for being absent? for the
So
day?
what happens is the benchmark, I believe we do half days and full days, correct? So you can miss a half day or you can miss a full day. So, you know, if a kid missed 4 half days, that would be considered 2 full days, yes. And so that's, I think for me, when I look at that data, that's a culture piece. We want kids to want to be here. That's an education piece. You know, a lot of times during COVID, you know, we told them stay home. And so now we get the stay home piece as well. But, you know, educating parents about what sickness necessitates your kid staying home versus coming to school. And some of it really truly is just, I don't really want to go to school today. Okay. Just that parent's not really pushing or family's not pushing. I was very pleasantly surprised to see our first graders, 80%. That's amazing. You tend to find a lower regular attendance rate in the lower grades. And I will tell you, seniors are hard to get to come to school. They really, truly are. So a lot of times the higher percentage of regular attenders will be between like 3rd and 9th grade. So that's something that we need to share with our families, what the expectations are. You know, I think I saw a, I think it was like if in 9th grade, if you've missed something like 10 or more days in a school year, by the time you hit 9th grade, you actually missed an entire school year or something like that. And so, you know, understanding that being in school, even if you're not in school and you're like, I want the makeup work, that still doesn't make up for being with a teacher and being there. So I wanted to show you guys that data.
No, it's important. Thank you.
Yes, and that data is going to be something we do get, that we are going to have to set our integrated goals on.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Please.
So one of the things I'd like to know is how do we get our parents feedback? Yes, I think illness is a component of it, but I think I mean, I've heard parents say things like, well, if it's a delayed start or I have this, I'm just not going to take them to school. So how do we kind of get the answers from the parents on what's causing them to have absences and like to have that engagement? Because that would be interesting to hear from the parents' point of view. Like, why do I keep my kids home? What inconveniences me or makes it almost impossible maybe sometimes to get my kid to school?
Yeah. Real quick. Hey, Nathan, Don is waiting. He said to be let in. I don't know. He just sent me a picture that said asking to be let in.
I see the wrong spot.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
I don't see him in any.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's not in the waiting room.
Let me see if I can. I think that's part of we need to get, Laura, do you have Don's number? Can you text or email him? Okay.
Are there rules about when you have to contact the parents about chronic absenteeism?
There is, here's the problem on that though. And even though there are truancy laws in the state of Oregon, very few counties will actually enforce them. A couple years ago, there was this big push, this was before COVID, about attendance. And a lot of districts said, okay, we would love to have them, but we don't enforce the truancy laws. And so ODE, not their finest moment. So well, you just need to tell them how important it is to come to school. And somebody went, don't you think we do that every day? And so I do think some of it really is like Christine said, we need to talk to parents, like what is keeping your kids from coming to school? Is it the culture? You know, I'm not a fan of the word bullying because bullying is a very specific thing that really does have legal ramifications. So does your kid not feel safe? If so, why don't they feel safe? Do they not feel challenged? Do they not? So we do need to get to the heart of that matter of what is taking, why people aren't sending their kids. And I would agree, you know, sometimes if we do, I'm not a proponent of a late start for that very reason, because they're like, oh, they missed the bus, we can't make it, or they're missing 2 hours. What's the 2 hours the whole day? So I do think we need to find that, and that can be something that Heather Bart and I can really dive into. I've talked a lot with Sarah Littlefield about reaching out and saying, hey, if your kid misses the bus, we can still get them here. Like, we have enough people with van license, we can go get them. But I also think one of the struggles that we have is if our kids miss the bus, it's not like they're missing it, up the road, like Monroe, Eugene, Corvallis. So I think there's a lot that we can dig into there. But I did want to show you all that, because like I said, we will be held to that on integrated guidance.
So then I had one more question on
Yes.
that, and I'm not a proponent always of using the stick method, because I don't think that it's actually all that effective. However, do we have policy in place that actually prevents children or students from participating if they aren't in attendance? And then it kind of puts it on them, like, I want to go to school, because if I don't make it to school, I don't get to engage in X, Y, or Z, because my attendance matters. It's connected to that whole, like, or we say student is first in every title. So student athlete, after school programs, all of that, they're still a student first. So I don't know what your opinion on that is.
We do. I think the hard part is there's been so much transition, just getting that policy into place. And that's something that Bart and I have been spending a lot of time talking about, because, like, for example, the handbooks. Love the handbooks. We should have had them at the beginning where parents can sign them, which is hard, but we're going to work on that. Same thing, we called around the state, and I brought the one that I wrote for my previous district, the athletic policy. And so, but we didn't really get it until September. And then it was like we were drinking from a fire hose. So it's one of those pieces. And I think we are just really trying to get to those pieces and put them into place. And we already have some stuff in place, but I think also just there is a lot to work on. And so, we are working on that, because I don't disagree with you. I think that kids need to be here. If I always say that athletics is a privilege, not a right. And, I love winning like everybody else, but I'm not going to win by just saying my best player's out and he's going to show up 2 minutes before we leave on the bus and I'm going to let him win. There, we
I
are
think
student athletes.
There's OSAA standards along that line.
Not
too.
for that.
I thought there was.
The only
Probably
OSA
not.
standards really are for credits towards graduation. So they leave kind of how
Yeah.
everything else to individual schools.
I would say the state is a big advocate of education.
Yeah, I feel like there should be a attendance component to that also, because I remember in the spring, we approved some policy about grading that said that you can't base a student's grade in a class on whether they're there or not.
Yeah.
So
That can't be the
kinda
only,
like-
yeah.
That can't, we need something else.
I mean, that's tough in a class like culinary or shop, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a. it's
And I
kinda
did,
tough.
sorry, I don't ask those questions as criticisms. I do know that we're working a lot on moving
No,
forward. I just want to make sure that we are we looking at all the pictures and the videos to make this.
Well, and I don't disagree with you. I think, being a student athlete is not only a student, but an athlete and somebody of good character. I've told the girls and the boys, when you go out, you don't have your name across the front, you have Elsie's name across the front. And we want to be of good character, but we also want to have, scholar athletes and things like that. So we're working slowly but surely, we're getting there. The next one is the iReady diagnostic results. I know we look at them and go, oh man. And you know what? You're right. Oh man. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Yellow is not bad. That's really where the kids should be, because if you're on green means you're on grade level, and that means you shouldn't be in that grade. You already got it. What I want to caution everybody when we take tests is that we're looking at one point in time. And so this is just one thing that we're using for setting goals for teachers. Because as you can see, for example, the very first page is all schools. So this is K through 12. And you can see, just kind of based on what you see there, ELA, I'm sorry, that 48% of our students can actually consider 2 grade levels or below. But that's a test. That's one test. We look at multiple tests. So we look at the OSAS test, the one that we talked about last month, where Russ said, do we have to let them opt out? Well, unfortunately, yeah, we do. But the reason I would encourage people not to opt out of tests is because now we have these multiple data points. And so if they do great on OSAS, but not good on iReady, then we know one of them they didn't do so hot on because maybe they didn't, maybe they didn't take their time. So this is the all schools. We're going to talk about, we actually have a PD tomorrow with iReady and the teachers, the K-6 teachers, and then Jake and Catherine as the high school math and science or math and ELA teacher. But what does our data tell us? Well, if I looked at this, I would say that Alsea School District, we really need to work on comprehension. Well, great. Guess what? Informational text. You don't just do that in ELA. You do it in social studies and science. So we can talk about how we bring it together as a group. The next page on this one is actually, this is more of, you can actually now see it breaks out more on. So if we have green kids in the green, the 8% are actually considered mid or above grade level. The 15 is early on grade level, so we're pretty good. The yellow is 1 grade level below. So if you're an 8th grader and you test as a 7th grader at the beginning of the year, you're where you should be. And then we look at reds are 2 grade levels below, and then the 28% is the 3 or more grade levels below. So this even breaks it down more for us. But in general, we, like I said, we are looking at what strands do we really want to focus on. And so what I will tell you is comprehension is actually a strand that you see everywhere that really needs to be focused on. We are going to actually give individual student reports at parent-teacher conferences. And we're going to give a nice little letter about this is what it means. And if you want your because what's tied to this at the K-6 level is when they take this diagnostic, it actually says your child is at this grade level, blah, 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 blah. And you can do, the district bought the part where if your child is like, let's say struggling in vocabulary, let's say your child's a 2nd grader, but vocabulary, they tested as a kindergartner. We actually bought lessons that it actually puts the kids in lessons and standard lessons that they need to work on. And so the teachers can give them lessons 10 to 15 minutes a day to work on that works on the strands they're low in. Or if they're high, it actually pushes them in the strands they're high in.
That's
So-
good, because I imagine when you present this data to the parents, they're gonna say, okay, so what are you gonna do about it?
Yep. And they can do it at home. So when you have parents go, what can we do when my kids at Christmas break? We're like, and here's their iReady. You can do it 15 minutes a day. And so
Awesome.
this is, we
Thank you
did
for
it
that.
K-6. I did in my previous district with the 7th and 8th graders, and we did a lot at school. And the 7th and 8th graders didn't want to do it. So I'm like, oh, we're gonna try K-6, but it gives the parents some opportunities to see, it gives the teacher better data. When we are running our RTI, Sam and I have been really attending a lot of webinars and things like this. Sam is actually, it puts the kids in groups based on strengths and weaknesses. And then Sam can go in and actually pull lessons for the kids and work with them in small groups with already pre-made lessons and say, here you go. And Kayla's going to do that as well. So that's our reading data, our math data. Not as great, but again, we're working on it. The thing I love most about math is we can look in measurement and data. You can do a lot in science, geometry, shop. So this is what our goals are going to be based on. And so, I'm going to present, we do the second diagnostic in January. And so you guys are going to see this data again. And you will be able to compare and see what kind of growth. Because remember, in education, it's not about achievement, it's about how much the kids grow. And we want to see that red get smaller and smaller and that green get bigger and bigger. And so I wanted to present that to you all so we can really start talking about where do we put our money, what's our priorities, what PD should we look at, what sort of after school programming, would help us really enrich the kids, but get us that data or get them the skills they need. And then the last data I'm throwing at you. And I'm sorry, I couldn't get that first one to go. Really? Oh, look at you. There you go. I went through, so I actually presented this data to you when I presented the integrated guidance data. I added, however, the 22-23 school year to it. Sorry. That's all right. I'm excited. This is these are the 5 things that I can't even think of the words tonight. The 5 categories that ODE will have us set goals on. So 4-year graduation rate, 5-year graduation rate, 9th grade on track, regular attenders, and 3rd grade reading proficiencies. So this is our data. They always compare us to the ESD, so our LBL ESD, and then the state. What I highlighted the yellow because that's the years that I believe we saw that inflated ADMW. Is what just kind of based, I couldn't go back and really look, like I would try to go back to state reports.
ADMR or ADMW, I'm sorry.
ADMR, I'm sorry. But I believe if you look like
Someone tell me what ADMR is.
how many kids we have in our district.
Oh, okay.
So like if you look at regular attenders, you can see in 2018 and 19, our data showed we had 195 kids, but then in 2021, it went to 669. So just by looking and like if you look at 5-year graduation rates, like in 18-19 went from 32 to like 49. So I'm thinking in that region is that's when we started getting all these kids. So it's really hard for me to be like, let's look at this data because we know it could either be inflated. But this really is our data. And then if you keep going down, you've seen the student group data or the student group data for the 5 common. That's what we got from the state. And so this, like I said, this is really what we are going to have to set goals on. I pulled the 22-23. That is just what came. That is going to be released in our report card, which I'm going to present in November. That's the most updated data. So like the 4-year graduation rate, 21-22 at 42%, that's the most recent released graduation rate because they do it 2 years behind. And so same thing with the 5-year graduation rate, but 9th grade on track was this year's 10th graders. So last year, only 62% of our 9th graders were considered on track for graduation. Regular attenders, is 51% versus the state average of 62. And then 3rd grade reading proficiency was 17% versus the state average of 40. I didn't have ESDs because I didn't get those released yet. I just have the state versus. So I wanted to share that data with you as we come and start talking about what are our goals. This is the data we're using. And so my hope is that as we have conversations more about programs and budgets, this is where we're having these conversations. Where do we support attendance? Where do we support reading? How do we support reading? How do we support graduation rates? How do we support 9th graders to be on track? And if you notice, it doesn't say 9th graders who have already taken Algebra 1. It's 9th graders on track. And a lot of people say, oh, well, we need to know how many people are passing Algebra 1. Okay, well, we do, but isn't it better to get them here first? Because you can't pass Algebra 1 if you're not here. And the 9th graders on track, you can fail math and still be considered on track. Not that we want you to, but we want to talk about how do we get kids to school so they're not failing. And so I just want to start throwing data in front of you so we can start having those rich conversations. Okay. And that is all I have.
All right.
And now you get to hear me talk again.
K through 6.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So if we see like in math in our middle to high school that so many kids are below grade level,
Mhm.
do our teachers have the tools they need to maybe make a curriculum if these kids are a few years behind, especially newer teachers that don't know these kids yet? Do they have the tools to, to modify a curriculum so they can get these kids caught up? Because I know some of the frustration I had in math when I got behind in school was trying to catch up with the concepts I missed to learn the concepts that we were doing. So I'm just curious how because it looks like, in 8th to 12th, or 7th to 12th, we're way off the mark with grade level math performance.
We are. And one of the things, Mr. Schlechter has come in and I taught high school math. So we've come in and we've really
I
talked.
know, that's why I'm asking you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We've come in and really talked about like, really, how do we look at concepts? And instead of saying, you know, like, we can't necessarily modify at high school because you have, but how do we teach those skills? And so he's like, I'm gonna stop. Do you mind if I stop for a couple of days and we talk about fractions, you know, decimals? Because now we're talking about percentages and I really want to get into credit cards, you know, especially like in the applied math. And so him and I are really like, how do you do that quick version of how you get the skills you need so you can get up here? So he really has been working, really trying to do a lot of that catch up and modified so they can catch up. One of the things that he told me, and I was like, wow, is he's actually staying after school and like anybody who wants to come in and get that extra help, which I think is great because how many of those kids have never had that opportunity because we had to ride the bus. So he's been working with Bart and been like, if the kids stay with me after school, can they ride the activity bus home?
Well, that's great. I mean, I just feel like my own children
Mhm.
like are behind in math more than English because during COVID, like it's easier to read with your kids and do English with your
Mhm.
kids than it was to teach math, especially for those of us who grew up with the old math. Sometimes I can't make heads or tails. So I'm
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
you know, going through the open house was very enlightening for me. I mean, I really enjoyed it. But just listening to my children across the board, it seems like all of them, after a couple of years out of school, especially we lived in Portland at the time, they were almost completely out of school for a year and then barely in school for a year, are really behind in math. And I don't know academically how you have to do what you have to do at the state. I just know these kids
Yeah.
are missing some of those fundamentals that,
Yeah,
Well,
they're not gonna get it at home on their own.
and they're not going to get it when they go to
Parents aren't
college. You know, I
necessarily
just see
teachers.
this
Yeah.
as it's going to be hard for them their whole life.
well, and you know, I've always said in our society, it's unacceptable to say I can't read, but it's acceptable to be like, I don't know how to really do math.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
So one of the things we talked about with Mr. Schlechter, and even I'm gonna talk with other teachers, is we do have some money left over in ESSER for unfinished learning. Let's run tutoring after school for a couple days a
Yeah,
week.
sure.
Buy snacks, open it up to 7 through 12. Because sixth grade actually is K through 6 have time built in,
Mhm.
but have this where they can actually work with teachers and
Yeah, I think
like,
that's a great
if
idea.
I'm missing school, hey, I can stay and finish my test after school. So we're looking at things like that and being able to provide teachers with a stipend because we need to do that because we have this money. And really start opening up to kids who need that extra support. Can we make them stay? No. But at least we're saying we're giving you the opportunity. Same thing with summer. How do we give the opportunities in the summer to catch up with credits or to do those things? So those are the types of things we're looking at as well as providing supports in the classroom as well. So it's kind of some ideas we've been rolling around. And Dawn said to me the other day, hey, you know, you got like $5,000 left in unfinished learning we have to spend here soon. And I was like, oh, and I just talked to Mr. Schlechter. They can do some after school tutoring. And, you know, opening up, you know, maybe Miss Alice will do it. Maybe Mr. Roberts would do it, things like that. He's not listening back there.
Oh, he is.
So just some classroom updates. We have been really doing, I've been super impressed with the elementary, I'll be honest with you. Those kids have come back. They have worked super hard. The teachers are working super hard. They're really talking about some great things. Third grade, they've been really working about Native American tribes of Oregon. If you actually go in there, they're like literally have like little songs they sing about like the different cultures and different things, and it's been great. In second grade, every time I go in there, Miss Holly's like, and look at this new nest I found. So they've been doing amazing. We have 2 major field trips coming up. The K through 3, we're going to Davis Family Farms. And then November 2nd, grades 4 through 6 are actually Nathan's wife got a hold of Miss Mason, Miss Treadway, and Miss Evans, and they're going to actually go and do some learning about salmon in water. And they're literally going to spend the whole day out there doing science stuff. And so it'll be great. They're all super excited. And yeah, we're
Got a salmon watch.
yeah. And then yeah, the K through 3, we're gonna take them to Davis Family Farms and they can go on hay rides, and we're doing it in the afternoon so we can sugar them up and send them home. So
Davis Farms does have excellent apple cider.
yeah, we're gonna do apple
And
cider and
donut.
donuts. Yeah, they're gonna get little donuts and apple cider. And so yeah, that's the 2 major things we're having upcoming, and we're all super excited about it. So
Where's the Davis family farm?
It's in Corvallis.
It's on Highway 20.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Little north of,
Really nice.
like West Circle comes into highway.
Yep. So that is us.
Oh, yeah, I know where it's on. Okay. Just didn't know the name of it.
Okay, next up, Ms. Shunk for Learn at Home.
Okay, hi. I almost said good morning to everyone. That's how long. It's been. Nice to see
been a long
everyone. It has been a long week. Yep. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I have permissions. Okay. All right. Is everybody able to see the board report?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we're trucking along. We're in the school year. I feel like we're, at that cruising level, but as we're cruising, we're looking at things. So just like Krista mentioned, I'm a data person too. That's how we know what we're working with, right? We have to be very transparent. And so similar to the brick and mortar, we have all completed the iReady beginning of the year assessment, and that's a huge place for us to say, okay, what's happening with each of the students? Where are they at? And then what specific goals can we create surrounding them and moving them forward? How do we engage the students in those goals, and how do we engage the parents in those goals so that we're all working from the same information and we're not in the dark? So I appreciated when Krista said embracing and owning our data. That's exactly our goal too in Learn at Home. So that's a big piece. And I want to say a shout out to Kayla Wilson, who came in and did all of the DIBELS assessments with our students as well. And that's a huge huge piece of information and data for us. Okay, so let's see. I mentioned this last time. We have our exploratory classes that are new this year. And as you can see, we have a lot of engagement. This is building our engagement across our entire schedule. Actually, the students are really enjoying being able to rotate and see all of their teachers throughout the week. They're able to, build these fun, engaging skills. In this particular one, they have a book club and a reading club that they're working on, and the other, we have art, and then we have Spanish, and it's just risen the entire engagement and attendance rate. I believe it's had a very positive impact on those two pieces. So you can see that students are really excited. Here's from one of the art classes. So our students are really engaged, and I've mentioned this, and I mentioned this last year. This is a very unique program where students are actively engaged. They're not going on and just looking at modules and leaving and being very, separate. They are bonding together in these classes. If you ever get a chance, and you're always welcome to visit or to watch recordings, it's really neat to see how these students, even down to the kindergarten level, interact. They know how to use the technology. They know how to, wait their turn or use the annotating. And they can actually, when I pop into different classes, they'll say, "Oh, Ms. Shunk, you have to push this button or that button." So it's just really incredible to see these students navigating their online environment. As I mentioned, Kayla Wilson came in to do all of the DIBELS, which is huge for us this year, and the iReady piece. So now, tomorrow, we're going to be going over our iReady and how to use that data, but we are also going to be creating, like I mentioned earlier, goals specific to that data that the teachers will collaborate with each individual student so that students know exactly what they need to be working on. There's nothing that, they're going to be very much in the, very transparent, very knowledgeable about what it is that they are working from. I want to mention that we are diving in K3 to open court. And this is a huge addition to our early literacy piece, building phonics skills that are strong, that are applicable. So when students they're learning all the different sounds, they can apply it to new words and they feel that strength and that confidence versus having to struggle through words as they are encountering them. So we're building that strength every single day. This online platform. So when I taught with Open Court many moons ago, it was, in brick and mortar, and it just seemed like ancient compared to what this platform has now. But the students are able to asynchronously and synchronously access it and learn and enjoy and build their skills. So I'm very grateful that we are bringing this in this year. And then I want to finish with a very exciting piece. BART has created a very amazing opportunity for students to attend an OSU basketball game. And I know for our friends that don't love OSU, that's okay too, but we are all we are all very, very excited that, that Learn at Home has been invited in to also attend. And we have a growing list of families. This is our first field trip. So this was a big goal of mine for this year, to add in field trip opportunities. So I'm just over the moon excited that the list is growing. Families are going to be traveling. They are going to be there, and they are going to be entering in with their LC school district counterparts. So that's really exciting. And that's that. And I just want to say thank you so much to BART for making that possibility for us.
They're really quick. Just a couple of things. One, that's so exciting about that field trip. That's the first time that we've gotten to do that. And I know one of the things last year was kind of a reminder to the board to not forget that we have two school districts. We have two schools. We have the brick and mortar and Learn at Home. So for our newer board members, actually, even for myself, can we just get in contact with you to set up time with the teachers if we want to drop in
Yes,
to a
absolutely.
classroom?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. And Nathan will be able to help us with that process. So it's going to take, it's not like Zoom where you can just send a link. We really have to have a process that goes, that's put in place so that you're able to get in there. It is a protected space.
Okay.
So yep, absolutely. We would be more than happy to introduce you into the classroom. If you want to read a story, if you want to share anything, it would just add to our village concept that there are so many adults that are cheering on and supporting students. So the more that they know that they have this network of adults supporting them, the better. So thank you.
Thank
I
you.
missed that. What am I setting up?
Nathan, Nathan, I have a whole list for you. No, I'm joking. So it would just be for our board members to be able to access classrooms for a visit. So we'll work on that together.
Do we have any resources for some of those kids to maybe have an Alcy shirt?
We're working on it. How about that?
I would love that. That's
love
something
I'm
that,
working on it.
Cool. Thank you.
Really make them feel a part of blue and white.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next
for
year's
that.
goal, we'll have to bring everybody into Spirit Week.
That'd be fun.
All
We put them
right.
on the remote on the screen or something in the gym.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, we
Thank
would
you
love
so
that. Thank you, everyone.
All right, Mr. Rothenberger.
All right, I'm live here, huh? Do I have
Yeah,
to-
can we see
Hey.
your mug?
Hey, just chill, okay? Just got out
Before
of
he gets, hold on, before Bart gets started, I want to thank Bart and Ricky for homecoming week. They have literally knocked it out of the park. Mr. Schlecter's been there. I heard he went down the slip and slide. I mean, it has
I
been
bet.
an amazing homecoming week. Want to thank the janitors, specifically Talon. He has been here every night cleaning up after these children. And so Bart knocked it out of the park. And, I know that Kayla has been to some, Kayla Wilson and Keenan, it's been great. I've really enjoyed this entire week. So thank you, Mr. Rothenberger. You did awesome.
Thank you. I had so much help, but I'm going to start off just by saying that culture in LC halls right now is absolutely tremendous, and it's really enjoyable with the kids, with the adults, and community members coming in, and all week. Of course, this is a week where you really see it with homecoming. Everybody starts coming out of the woodworks, and then last night was just amazing. So it was a lot of fun. But I'm just gonna hit some points real quick. I'm not gonna share my screen. I'm not like Heather. Okay, I'm just gonna hit some points real quick. November 29th, like she talked about, that OSU field trip through College of Engineer and Scott Ruick in the women's basketball program. We did it last year. It was great. It's tough, but it's fun. K through 8's going to go, and some of Heather's Learn Homes is also going. So it's going to be a good field trip. CTE, hey, they had their first field trip. Middle school went to Ag Olympics in SIO. Tremendous. High school PE right now, a participation rate of right at 100%, which is unheard of. The toughest thing is to get kids to dress down and participate. Science, Mr. Harris is back and in a new role, and he's just impressed with how hard students are working in the science. Art, as you walk out of that room tonight, you're going to see the mural on the wall above the concession stand. It's bright, it's colorful. It adds a little something to the stage. It's real nice. English, they're doing a kindness board, and it's nice. It's good. Math, Algebra 2, class average in both classes is above 90. And I know we've been talking about the struggles of math, and we know we have struggles of math, but at least we have some positivity in math also. So Algebra 2 right now, class average is above 90. Let's see, athletics. Everywhere across the board, athletics is going real well. Do we have some hiccups? Sure, we have some hiccups. Volleyball is going to end up third in league. I'm going to be playing in Junction City at 9 a.m. on August 21st versus Mohawk for second and third. And they'll have an opportunity to go to state with a win there. Football is undefeated. They will host Eddyville next Thursday at 7 o'clock. It's next Thursday, though, at 7 o'clock for the league championship, with a chance of having a bye first round, or they'll be in the state tournament no matter what. Middle school volleyball is doing very well. Only has 2 losses on the year. Football suffered their first loss the other night at McKenzie, but they're doing extremely well. Transportation. Oh my goodness. Okay. That's I don't even know where to start.
You just keep making those phone calls, Bart.
We need drivers very bad.
Thank goodness we have some parents that are amazing, that are helping us out sometimes in afternoon routes. Angela has came in and she's certified now, which is so helpful. I got a phone call yesterday. I got a phone call today for possible help. We have another young man that's getting trained to be a bus driver, and so, but then we have a bus that's down, and we have a technician coming next Tuesday, and so it's just, it's those kind of things. Working well. WLA is working really well with us. They are. I mean, they've got the audit, but we're ahead of schedule with what we have to be ready for in February. And they just took 2 more of our buses. They're going up to 6 routes from 4. And then, we do have that new big bus coming in December, and they will take bus 3 from us also. And so then 3 of those buses will be down. 3 of our older buses will be down there. Every one of our fleet buses will be over 2021 or newer, 2022, excuse me, or newer. And so that's pretty nice, actually. And so we have I guess we don't yet, but we're working on bringing some other vans are getting new struts on it. And then we're hopefully down the road looking at a type 20 bus down the road, if we can look at it, which will help with our athletics and small teams, and sometimes small routes also. So other than that, I don't have anything. I'm just gonna stay on here because I can't wait to listen to Don Staley, who does a tremendous job with our business. And we'll go from there.
Hey Bart, really quick, I was just gonna call out that the communication from transportation has been like top notch. So thank you to you and Nicole. I know communication is something we are always gonna get criticized on because it's something you have to always work on. But those emails going out with the constant communication, the updates when things are, in place. Thank you for that.
It is probably something. First of all, Nicole has been doing a tremendous job. I need to give her a great big hand. She's been doing a great job, and we've missed a couple things. And where we communicate is not necessarily where the community communicates. And what I mean by that is I communicate on OSA, right? That's my life, and then the community doesn't usually go to OSA, and so we try to get on our Google Calendar. But just by adding Nathan giving us the parent emails has already helped tremendously. We've never had that. So, I'm putting my athletic activity things out Sunday evenings. And so it's getting better, and we can still get better. So it is improving.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, business manager, Mr. Staley.
Here we go.
Oh, thank you, Bart. One in a million. You can black yourself out right now, please. There you go. Do you have the financial statements in front of you? I'm like Bart. I'm not going to share them. Do you have them on your screen?
Yep. Yes.
Please ignore the PDF. It must have been the food service audit. I sent the wrong ones. The Excel is the right ones. If you would use that, I do them multiple times during the week or during the month, and I sent the wrong ones, and I apologize. But it's the Excel sheet. It's the correct one that says dated September 30th on the top. What I would like you to do is go to page 8 first. And I think this is the most important one to give you information where the district is and what might lie ahead. This is a state school support formula, and what I've given you is the history from 21-22 up to projecting up to 24-25. And I imagine you've seen it in prior years, but I'm going to go over it again. The funding for the school district is mostly from the state school support, and it's based on your ADMW, and you'll see the components there that make up the ADMW, and that's average daily membership weighted. And you'll have the terms on the left, and if you're not familiar, I'll go down. That's your residents, that's the number of kids in the program, ESL, English Second Language, pregnant parenting, IEPs, and I think the others are explanatory. But you'll notice in 21-22, your ADMW was 1,120. And the way the formula works is you take the higher of the 2 years, that will give you your funding for that year, the previous year and the current year. And the reason they did that when a long time ago, they did not have that higher of the 2 years. They had it just in that year, and I was impacted when I was in Canby there, and we lost attendance during the year, and we had no way to recover. This way it gives districts the opportunity to plan for the next year. So you'll notice in 22-23, you went from 1,120 down to 661, but you were still funded on 1,120 students, which is about 500 and some more, almost 500 more than you actually had in attendance. So that built up your fund balance and made things kind of lucrative, but that doesn't make things last. Well, then this year that we're projecting that it's going to be around 620 total. Well, that was in 22-23. So in 23-24, our projection, we're using the higher of the two, is 661 again. However, for this year, and what was submitted to the state, what they're making their estimates on are the numbers that are the 459, the 13, the 50. Those numbers were submitted to the state during the process in March, what they're projecting. You have to put in your student estimates. Well, the actual numbers are 287, you'll see there. And our ADMW we are looking at is about 403 this year, but you're going to get paid on probably the 619, because if you go over 22, 23, those are the actual numbers. Well, that's 200 more than your actual student count. Well, this next year, you're going to lose about 216 kids in 24-25 unless there's a big growth. What does that correlate to? If you look down at the bottom, that's about a $2 million reduction in funding in 24-25 compared to 23-24. And that is why we're going to do a 2-year budget, so we can plan for this. So when I go over the financial statements, the front part, when you say you go to the front part, and I'm going to go to page 1, and if I get there, if you go back to page 1, that is your resources there and what was budgeted, and I'm projecting that you are going to be about 500 less in revenues compared for the state school formula compared to what you budgeted. I have no idea on the second part. That'll come out in May, if there is any, because they, as I said before, they look at the state school support formula again in April. They put all the audited figures in, and then they recalculate. I'm still going through some of these figures here in lines 14 through 21 on your local resources. I'm not sure what they mean, and I'm being very honest. I know E-rate is something that's a special revenue. It is not a general fund because it's supposed to be used for the purchase of technology. It's the reimbursement of phones and various things that Nathan's working on. Donations, I'm not sure where that is going to come from, but these are the budgeted figures there. And put in there, I'm not sure exactly because we don't have any revenue through the ESD that I'm aware of. I'm not sure of the 8,000 special education programs. I don't know where that's coming from. So, but in overall, you had a beginning cash on line 25 of about $4,300,000. And that was accumulation because of your high ADMW in previous years. And that will give us right now, with the amount of money that's in earnings and various things, we'll have resources in the close to $1 million more than what was budgeted. And that's strictly because of the beginning cash. If you go down to page 2 and 3, I'm showing you by the main functions, and this is how we recorded. You can go into great detail by each line item, but I think it's more descriptive if you look at the function. And one of the resolutions that you have in there is bringing 1132 back into for athletics back into the general fund. And I'm not sure why it was moved out, but it should be in the general fund. It's no different than any other activity after school. They're always part of the general fund. So there's a resolution to bring that back in. But you'll notice at the bottom, you'll have right now, and I think I have all salaries encumbered, but I don't know about POs. You'll have probably around a $5 million ending fund balance if things work out. But the problem is you're going to lose $2 million next year. And so that's why we're going to do a 2-year budget so we can plan everything out so you don't just go off the cliff. Is there any questions on the general fund?
This is
Okay, I'll go.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's a way
Thank you,
clearer than
Don.
I've ever heard in the past.
What's that?
It's way more clear than I've ever heard in the past. It's making a
Well,
lot
I
of sense.
appreciate that. I don't like to give a lot of numbers. They convolute things. If you give it in the big picture, in the budget, I'll go into more detail, and I can always give it to you in more detail, but I think it's the bottom line, like in anything, is what really counts and what makes it up. If you go to special revenues, that is the next one. I think I have most of the grants there. Of course, there's some that will be awarded. And you'll see there, I have the end date and what the grant amount is, and you'll notice last board meeting, you approved the spending or the budget on those that are the SIA and the HSS and those in there. So I claim the funds on these each quarter or a month, depend on which it is, so we get the money rather than the ODE have the money. So I've done the claiming for the third quarter already, and working on the bond one with Chris and Nancy on that one. So if you have any questions, just ask on these, but I think I have all salaries, worked with Chris on that. And I have people attached to the HSS and to the SIA school improvement or a student investment account. That would be 251 and 252. Those are your two big ones right now. Going to the debt service, this is just your debt. And taxes will be coming in here in October and November, and your principal and interest. Interest is always due in December and June. Principal is paid in June. That way you've collected your taxes and can pay that. So that's why there's nothing there, but your debt is around $92,000 this year. Capital projects, I've discussed that. That's money in there in reserve that you can use as you need per board resolution. And then the last one is your bond, and Chris and Nancy will be going over this, but that's where we're at right now, and we reconcile this continually, and so hopefully it gives you a picture where we are, and probably in the next month or so, I'll have a 2-year budget, work with Krista and Bart and everybody, and then we can work with you guys to show you where we're at and where we're going.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Any questions? Very good. How was that, Bart?
And here he said he was gonna stick around.
Yeah.
It's very telling. Thank you so much, John. All right, next up, let's move to our bond update with Chris and Nancy Giggy.
Hey, folks, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. Yep, we're on the road tonight, so I'm giving the report to you here. Do you have our report there and the financial summary?
Yes.
Great, great. Yep, I'll just hit the highlights and then see if you have any questions. So multiple pieces going on, as you know. The electrical and HVAC upgrade work is continuing. And right now the plan is to finish all of that work by the end of November. They're working off hours to do that, and on Fridays. Pretty much most of the equipment that can be installed has been installed, and so they're making the connections between that equipment. And then what's going to happen is at the end of November, the contractor is going to stand down. And so that's the pretty much everything that they can do until we get that switchgear. And everybody's been hearing us talk about the switchgear. When that comes in, right now it's scheduled for April. And then they'll install that and do the final electrical connections. But there's still a number of pieces that are going to have to wait until after school is out, such as the gym, HVAC unit. Until we're ready to vacate that, there's some of the electrical panels that get installed in place of the existing ones. So basically the building has to be vacated so they can shut down power. Right now, they're scheduled for that. We've been reviewing that with not only CB, but their electrician in face-to-face meetings. They're planning to have that work done by the end of June. And that would give us time to do commissioning and everything else, get everything started up. So that's what we're looking at right now for that work. On the CTE building side, we've been talking about design and we're nearing completion. So there will be a final design review meeting the week of the 23rd with the district folks that want to be there and with Seth for just a last look at that design. They've been doing a great job. We've had a lot of interaction with them outside of the meetings, a lot of good questions answered. Seth has been terrific. Krista Keenan in terms of getting us information really quickly and feeding that to them. So they've been able to keep design moving. So we're going to have a great bid package available beginning in November to go out to bid. Our goal again is to get construction started. We've got to get procurement long lead on that steel building and then get construction started right after the first of the year and get it done by mid-August. And then a second piece for the CTE building is a contractor selection. So I think you heard us talk about last month putting out a request for qualifications. We want to pre-qualify contractors. We don't want to just go low bid and use anybody who puts in a number. And there's some folks we didn't want to participate, right? So we put out that RFQ, and we had probably a dozen companies asked for the RFQ. Well, 4 companies responded, and 3 of them. I can tell you who they are if you'd like. We had Greenberry from Corvallis, we had Wildish from Eugene, we have Todd Construction from Portland, and Zerbach Construction from Roseburg. And I know all of them, and they're all qualified firms. We're checking references this week, and then we've got to pull together a committee with Krista Keenan, Ryan Van Leuven, and Richard Olson, and they've kind enough to set aside a little time next Monday evening, and we're just going to review everything together. Again, not to select the contractor. The whole goal there is just to say, these are the folks we're going to let bid on this. And so we want to have that competition. We want to have 4 of them. It'd be great if we had more, but 4 feels good at this point, as busy as companies are. So again, when that bid package comes out, if all 4 qualified or 3, whatever it is, we would give this package to them, and they're the ones who would compete against each other to give us the lowest price to move ahead with that construction. So that's it on the CTE. You've got the financials in there. Don talked about a little bit. We have been reconciling together on a regular basis. Not a whole lot of changes. Additional committed costs, about $7,000 for some geotech work where the former excavation was done, just to verify what was there for the CTE building. But our next big piece is going to be when we get a contractor on board. Right now with contingency, we have 1.93 million that's available for that. If you remember from our estimate, they were saying hard cost was about 1.5 with a total construction cost of about 1.7 to 1.8. So we're right in that ballpark, and until we get those numbers from the bids, we're going to be biting our nails a little bit. So those bid numbers will probably be at the end of November. So we won't have them for the next board meeting, but you folks will be hearing the results before the December board meeting. The last piece I wanted to touch on, unless there's questions on any of that, I should probably take a breath. And any questions on the ongoing work with CB or the CTE building?
Doesn't look like any.
Okay, great. The last piece just to touch on is that seismic grant we've been talking about. And so that grant application is in the process. ZCS, the structural engineering firm, is finishing their evaluation. They've got some informational requests. Krista, I know, is working on that. Not, she's not busy enough, so there's some more homework there for poor Krista and others who are working on that. And then the second piece of that is, in addition, there's letters of support that go with that grant, and they're just things that the state looks at and to say, yeah, is there good support for this grant, which is kind of a no-brainer. But one of the recommendations there is for the board to provide a letter of support for this grant. They're also recommending perhaps the fire department, perhaps ACE. There may be others that you folks could think of. We really need 3 or 4 letters of support for this. We've shared with Krista a sample of what that, it's not a lengthy letter. It doesn't take very long to put together. It's nothing that formal. So anyway, that's something that we'll want to put together for ZCS here in the next, I'd say the next few weeks. And then that will wrap up their application so they could submit it in time. And then we'll wait for the spring to hear the results of the service. Any questions on that? All right, you folks are taking it easy on me. That's great. But it's been a long meeting, I know, so.
I would just say a thank you again to you and Nancy, along with some of our community members and staff joining in to do the work outside of hours to make things successful for all our kids in our district. So thank you so much.
All right, thanks, folks. Good night.
Good night. All right. Enrollment.
We put on the enrollment, so we were up 7 kids from September 1 to October 1. And then you can compare them to last year at this time. Obviously, we're down because we had to cut back on enrollment. So that's our current totals. Laura did a great job in getting these. I know she played around because we wanted to make sure that you guys could see them. So we're just going to keep updating these and putting them in the board packet.
Thank you. All right, on to new business, Division 22 standards.
Okay. So Division 22 standards is something that, hopefully I have the right one. Let me look. Oh no, I don't. Is something that we have to, the school has, I'm sorry, the district has to present to the school board each year. I am going to, hopefully I can find it. Present to you all. It is the Division 22 Standards Compliance Report. Let me get that up, please. Okay. I'm going to share my screen maybe. Okay, can everybody see now? So the state has 22 different standards that by law each school district does have to include or has to be in compliance with or working towards compliance. This is for last school year, not this school year. So I want you to remember when I'm talking about what perhaps we were out of compliance where it's not for this school year. So an overview, what are the Division 22 standards? So all Oregon administrative rules set out what standards public elementary and secondary schools have to have. These standards are set forth by the legislature or the state board. And you really have to make sure what they want is they're saying every school district has to be in compliance in these. So every school has the same baseline level of service. So here are the categories, that we look for. So we have things like teaching and learning, the health and safety, district performance and accountability, and human resources and staffing. So things, required instructional time, state assessments, identification of tag students, credit options, which I will tell you the state just actually came out with this week. For the class of 2027, they are actually requiring a half credit in personal finance and a half credit in college and careers, which is great because we put that in our integrated guidance. So that will start, I believe, with this year's for eighth grade, freshmen or eighth graders. I don't know at this point. Things, policies and practices. So, you know, if you were out of compliance last year with your policies, you were now in compliance because you all did like 20 million of them last year. Plans and reports, school safety, background checks, things like that. Complaint procedures. So those are the types of things. So what are the requirements for each rules? You guys can go and read that. We do have to post the Division 22, so it actually will tell you which OAR and things like that each of them are from. So ultimately, what it's saying is the assurances. So the local accountability is the district is reporting to you guys, the school board, are we in compliance or not? And then we're putting it on our website for our community to see it. Then after we do this, then we have to submit the assurances to ODE. And then ODE will come in and say, okay, if you're out of compliance, what's wrong? What can we do to help you? Not, oh, we're gonna take your money. What can we do to help you? So ultimately, why are we doing this? We want to make sure that every student across the state of Oregon has the same foundation. And then it really also provides us the opportunity to really say, what do we need to do to become in compliance in certain pieces? So what happens if you're out of compliance? So you have to write a corrective action plan. So ODE will call and say, hey, what's going on? How are you going to fix it? And then once they do your action plan, they have continued to provide support, which I will tell you ODE has for us. I've gotten calls from the state saying, what can we do to help? And then we just keep implementing as we go. So here's our report for the year. Well, a couple things. There are some waivers. They still are waiving the essential skills graduation requirements. I don't know. You all might remember prior to COVID, there were two parts of graduation. It wasn't only just the credits. You had to show proficiency in reading, writing, and math, which you could do in multiple different ways, hitting certain standards on the ACT, pre-ACT, PSAT, the SAT, at the time they called it the SBAC, or you could do work samples. They're continuing to waive that. What's happening is they're actually doing a work study to see if they want to keep the essential skills requirements. It is a very big misnomer that people are like, oh, they took away the essential skills requirement, so you can't graduate, or we're having kids graduate who can't read, write, or do math. No, they still have to pass English classes and math classes. And so there's just looking at that piece. And then PE data collections were suspended, but they're coming back on. And I will tell you that is something that we struggled with as a 4-day school week, but we're fine. And now I got some clarification from ODE. So last year, I think we weren't fine. This year we will be. New to 2023. So you have to, if you have a voluntary organization that administers interscholastic program activities, they have to adopt and implement policies prohibiting discrimination, complaint processes with sanction, administer an annual survey. OSAA is this. And then we have to do operational plans. So our communicable disease plan, what happens, and communicable disease at this point is more than COVID. It would be like, what happens if we have an outbreak of this or something like that. So we did have to still have those plans in place. So I am very happy to say that we are compliant in all these things. Our tag program, our assessment reporting, SPED and tag requirements, required instructional time, middle school PE time, and then your policies. Like I said, you guys did a lot of policy work, and that actually really helped to get us in compliance. A lot of compliance aren't just, in the school. It's about having policies that really are anti-discrimination, making sure you have the correct diploma types, the suicide prevention plan, which is Addie's law. Do you have the right child abuse mandatory reporting policy, so on and so forth. Things that we're implementing is the K through 5 PE. We need to make sure that the scheduling has enough minutes. That's 120 minutes per week. And then the evaluation system, I will tell you, was not fully implemented last year, but it is this year. And it wasn't fully implemented last year because I believe they really didn't get it going till like November, December, because they had to do a lot of cleanup. So I said that that was an action plan that was being implemented, but we have implemented it this year. So next year it'll be fine. Looking ahead, we're gonna have to do some P requirements. This is what saved us. So House Bill 3199, prior to that, it pretty much said if you're in middle school 6 through 8, you have to have 225 minutes every week, every year, which was hard for some schools that were block scheduling and hard for 4-day weeks. And some middle schools say you only do PE for a semester, and then the other semester you do health, so on and so forth. So they rearranged it and said, okay, we're just going to have you do 150 minutes on average over the duration of the school year. So that provision went into effect July 1. But what people really don't understand is we love these bills, except they go, and we're just going to do all this. And then they forget there's these little pockets of differences. So 4-day school weeks, like we are, went, whoa. Like you want us to do reading for, 90 minutes, math for 90 minutes. And now if we have to do 225 minutes every, a week for PE, now we have to do like PE for, an hour. And so they went, okay, so we're going to make sure we can pare it down and be proportional. So for a 4-day school week, we really don't have to do an average of 120 minutes per week throughout the course of the school year. So that's great. That actually helps a lot. That's minimum 30 minutes. Our 6th graders do get a minimum of 30 minutes. And like, you can add other physical activity if it's under the guidance of a certified teacher. So, if we go out and have some running at recess for 5 minutes and there's a certified teacher out there, you can kind of add that piece, or they can do, some wiggling or something like that. And then our junior high kids get 50 minutes a day. So those are some new and revised rules. Health services, same thing. Really, it's that operational piece. What are your plans? These were things that we've been doing. They're just making us now say that we do them. And then some potential rule changes. The assessment of essential skills, they're going to propose to actually suspend this through the freshmen going through their senior year. They're saying anybody who is this year, I believe it's this year's freshman, might even be this year's 8th graders through their senior year, will still not have to do essential skills. And then the Menstrual Dignity for Students Act, which we're fine on. So those are the things that we're looking forward to. So in the end, what I will say, I'm going to stop sharing, is if you look at our Division 22s, the compliance report will be the one that is on our website. Pretty much we're in compliance, we're looking at the physical education requirements. So we're working to increase that. And we're working to make sure that our teacher administrative evaluation system is in compliance. Other than that, in looking at our things, the district believes we are in compliance for everything else. So Mr. Gallagher did a great job. It was a lot of heavy lifting, but he did a great job to ensure that everything's done. So yeah. And I just had to present it. And so this will be up on our website next week.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, next up is the resolution to purchase a 14-passenger bus. Do you want to give a brief explanation before we go through the motion process?
I would love Dawn to do that, or Bart.
Art? Oh, I guess I'm here. The resolution, we sold those buses to Kings Valley, which provide $168,000, which is put into the bus reserve. And like Bart said in his presentation, bus drivers are scarce. And what this will allow is the district to have coaches drive the van. A lot of schools do that. so they don't have to pay a bus driver to do it. The coach takes them. It depends on the size of the team, and it alleviates problems that they're having in transportation right now with bus drivers. And there is a bus available. And it's on bid. I think it was through Springfield or one of those districts. They did bidding through there, and so we can piggyback on that.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to consider the type 20 bus approval?
I'll make a motion to entertain the resolution to purchase a 14-passenger bus.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. I do have a question that, because it says and,
So
that's
there's,
just part of the, the resolution to purchase requires the.
yeah, so there's motion,
Okay.
motion and a second. So let's jump into discussion. So Jamie, you would be up first.
I'm curious what our team numbers currently are sitting at. It's perception is there's more than 14, including a coach that would be driving.
So like, for example, our girls volleyball team went to Dufur. And they took, what did you take, 10?
No, we took the entire team because we.
You ended up having a
we-
bus.
We ended up having a bus.
But like, so
But
for,
it's a varsity level term.
yeah,
tournament.
varsity. So if you didn't, let's say, for example, if we didn't have a bus driver, we just got lucky and had a bus driver. But if we didn't have a bus driver, then somebody who had that activity license could then take the team with the varsity girls. Like we have, like the track team only has, I think, 5 kids. Like if we have a smaller basketball team, so I think what it's going to do, it's going to alleviate us saying, I'm sorry, we have to pick between taking a trip or having our afternoon route, and the afternoon route always wins. And so it would be those types of things. And sometimes if it's a varsity game, you just take enough to play the varsity game, like that tournament. They had a bus driver, so they took everybody.
I can speak on behalf of this too, if you want me to, at any point.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, so we really need a type 20. I mean, every school district in the state has a type 20, and it can help many things out. One thing that's really going to help us out is with our ag program, with his field trips. 100%. The other day he could have taken the minibus, and we'll get him certified, right? I think he was right at, it's 14 plus the driver. So, but it helps. We're going to Days Creek, for instance, for a basketball tournament. We could take 2 vans and a minibus and not incur the costs of a driver, right? Because our coaches would drive, and so it helps all over the place. And also, like right now, I'm close. I've weaned it down to 3 routes, and we could possibly go with 3 routes plus a type 20 bus. And that's why we need to have that bus, so we can put you black it out for activity, for athletics, and then you take it off for a school bus, and so it's reimbursable that way.
Like the school bus on the top and the lights, yeah.
Yeah, and so we were supposed to have one 3 years ago, and it went somewhere else, and so they have 6 right now. We just need to, it's going to be economical for us. It will change some things right now instantly for us.
One of the things too is sometimes, especially when you do, so for example, last night we ran an activity bus after the noise parade. And one of the things that Bart had to make sure is the bus driver has to have 8 hours off. And so it was getting close. And so he was like, we have to be done by this time because the bus driver has to be off duty by, it was like 10. So this would also help if we have that issue, then there's enough people who could say, okay, jump in, let's go.
There's no DOT restrictions.
Yeah, yep.
So, and the bus is under different restrictions than the vans, right? Like, I had a parent ask a question about bringing kids that are car seat required home in a school vehicle, a passenger van versus a bus, and the laws regarding that. Like, Their concern is children in a van are supposed to be in a car seat under a certain weight and age, but not in a bus.
Mhm.
And we,
So it's just,
yeah, we looked in, that's a great question, Russ. I think it was brought to me too. We looked into that hard last week and it's a very valid point about the van versus the bus.
so this
100%.
bus would allow to help with that if we have a problem with the bus. We're getting some of
Abs-
these
Yeah,
younger
abs-
kids home on a bus
Yep.
yeah,
versus a vehicle.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
There's liability there.
I agree with
God
you.
forbid something happens.
There's 100% liability. I do want people to know that besides what we're talking about there with car seats and boosters possibly, that our vans are checked annually. They have just by ODOT. We have to do that just like we treat our buses also.
Oh, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
But I would agree. Yep. So like if we had type 20, it would be considered a
Mm,
bus. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
I just
all I
had a
had.
question about the title, resolution to purchase and increase bus reserve appropriate. Is the appropriation just moving the money over to pay for it?
Hey, Don.
Well, I would, is that meaning if the bus costs less than that, we move the rest?
No,
over?
no. Budget law requires that you have to have adequate appropriations before you can spend the
Okay.
dollars. And there's not appropriations in the special revenues to purchase that bus. And so what this is doing is, because it's non-tax revenue, you can, and it's not greater than 10% of the special revenue budget, you can increase the appropriations with like-kind revenue. And that's what that's doing.
So does the motion need to include that moving the money also?
It needs to include both the resolution and the purchase.
Okay.
So I need to
Okay,
edit
so
my
is there a
motion.
modification to the motion?
I will make a modification to the motion to approve the resolution to purchase a 14-passenger bus and increase reserve appropriations.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so there's a second to the modification. Any further discussion or questions? All right, we will do a roll call vote. Jamie,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Christina's a yes. Motion passes. Thank you, Bart and Dawn, for the help with that. The next one is 5C, our athletic resolution 24-05. I believe that was what Dawn spoke about while we went through the budget. So consider a motion.
I'll make a motion to pass the resolution to transfer appropriation fiscal year 23-24. Is that what we're on?
The
Five,
athletic.
5C, athletic
Yep,
resolution.
that's the one he's on. Yep.
okay.
he's on.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm
So
looking through my lenses here. I'm trying.
there's a motion.
I zoomed it.
I'll
There's a
second.
Motion and a second. Russ, we'll start with you. Discussion, questions?
None.
Soren?
I think it seemed clever, just moving the appropriations to the appropriate place.
Yep.
All right, well, there's a motion and a second. We'll go and do a roll call vote. Russ,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Christina's a yes. Next up is our MOU with the Alsea School District and the Alsea Education Association. Ms. Nimrod, can you give us a brief overview before we consider a motion?
So last spring, the school district and the Education Association negotiated a 1-year contract, and part of that contract was a commitment bonus. Dawn and I were not in that negotiation. However, and as we were looking at payroll, him and I were reading the CBA, and I misinterpreted what is called a commitment bonus. I misinterpreted it by the fact that I've never seen that you just do a commitment bonus like every 5 years. Like usually it's like you get it five something years, da 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 da, and then next year's da 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 da. And so when we looked at this commitment bonus, we had 4 employees who had 5 or more years of service in Alsea, teacher employees. And so Dawn and I were like, here we go. So we set it up. After we got the payroll, we got an employee, one of the employees who received this commitment bonus was like, that's not how it was explained to me by the previous administration. So I called Christine and she said that's the employee was correct. And so what it was is on year 5, you would get $500 and then you'd get nothing till year 10. And then you get $1,000 and then you get nothing till year 15 and then so on and so forth. So if we were to do the commitment bonus the way that it was negotiated, we would have no certified employees who would get it.
Right.
The way that we misinterpreted it, which we interpreted it on the side of the employee, we had 4. It would cost us $3,900. And truthfully, our employees give a lot. Our teachers give a lot. They've been asked to do a lot. They've been through, we have 4 employees who've been here, or 4 teachers, only 4 out of the 15, 16 we have 4 of them who've been here 5 or more years. And we, I think, need to start deciding as a district, because we know consistency and continuity really help student achievement. What do we want to do to really help our teachers want to stay? What can we do to get teachers here? And so what this MOU says is that we would go outside the CBA, but we would say it for this year only, and that we would do $500 would be given to those teachers with certified teaching experience for years 5 to 9, 1,000 from 10 to 19, 1,500 from 20 to 29, and then anything over 30 would be 2,000. Like I said, it would cost the district $3,900. We have the money. This would definitely be something that we would talk to we would look as a negotiating piece in this upcoming CBA negotiation. It would only be for this year, and it would be, the bonuses would be paid in equal installments. So anybody who had 5 to 9 would get $500 for the year, and we would literally split it in between their 12 checks. So it would not be $500 every month. So
So what you're saying is, what I thought I read in the email, so what you're saying is you just assumed every year after 5 years they would get the $500 bonus. And that's what we're doing for this 1 year. Why aren't we just saying we should just do that?
Because it was
that's a
not, that's
different
how it
meeting.
was not negotiated.
Oh,
So that would be
okay,
something
okay.
then that
We
we
have
would
to
come together as a
renegotiate.
board before
Okay.
we do it.
This
And-
would- sorry,
Go ahead.
I would say this puts us in compliance with what we did.
Right.
correct?
This would put us in compliance. So if the board decides not to do it, then that will not continue. We will not ask the employees for the money back because it was a district error. So we would just stop doing it on the October paycheck.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you for that explanation. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass. I don't know what this is called. I can't read the title, but
MOU.
the MOU, the commitment bonus MOU for 2023.
I'll second that.
Motion and second, discussion?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Does this count aides?
No, this was
Just
only
teaching
in the,
staff.
it was only in the CBA.
Okay, then I don't think I have to abstain.
Yeah, this was only in the certified CBA. Our classified staff is not in a, is not.
Okay.
I just make a comment. I think it's a great idea. As a board member, new board member, I would look at entertaining making this a permanent resolution down the road. I think showing loyalty to the school, and some of our teachers travel so far to get here and do a lot. So I'm totally supportive, and I understand why you did it, because it would make sense to me that that would be the case too, because $500 for 5 years doesn't seem like much of an incentive commitment bonus, but
All right,
throwing it out there.
we will go ahead and vote. I'll start with Russ.
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Christine is a yes. Okay, so meeting procedure roll call. This is one that Soren and I talked about actually in one of our meetings. And I'd like to present an adjustment to how we do our voting. So there was some feedback that the roll call is nice. Everybody can hear what we're saying and can tell our vote, which I think is really helpful. However, it is a little awkward as the board chair to say that, and then also let's just say that, I'm just gonna use an example. Maybe Russ, you and I disagree on something, but then I'm now saying, now vote.
Right.
So,
get it.
um, I would like to propose that the meeting, roll call actually transfers to Laura to do the roll call. And it would end in the vice chair going second to last and the chair going last. That is my proposal.
Except for Steve Weimer.
So you would ask for the votes from each person?
Yep.
You'd be like, Russ, is that a yay or an nay?
Yep.
Kick me under the table.
And that's, so,
And mix it up, so it's not always
Yeah.
the same order.
Well, now you're just making it complicated.
You don't have enough to do.
I think you could just go right down the line if you wanted, but hey, that's up
there's
to you.
different standards that I think that we could let Laura actually kind of to look at with OSBA, but there's sometimes it's like whoever motioned first and
Right.
seconded votes first, and then the others go. It's traditional that the board chair keeps their mouth quiet, which I don't do a good job of. I'll just own that. But they're the last to vote because they should be a tiebreaker at the end and shouldn't be the person that actually influences the vote. So those are some of the standard protocols that I learned with OSBA, but I would actually empower Laura to kind of initiate that because I think that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, you mentioned just going down the line. That actually, why I brought this up at one point is because I felt uncomfortable with it always being going down the line.
Right,
Because the
right,
last
right.
person, either their vote doesn't count or it's all on you.
Right. No, I get it. I actually like the way you're doing
Pressure
it with the motion, the second, and then the others. I think that's a great idea because that's keeps it random unless someone's always making the motions. Jamie. Oh, sorry.
I'm
just joking.
There was
I'm just
awkward
joking.
silence.
So
I-
that's the explanation behind it. So I guess with
Okay.
that, I would entertain a motion.
Okay.
For the very last time ever. No, I'm just kidding.
I move to adjust the roll call voting procedures such that the secretary will ask for the roll call vote and the order of voting will vary with the board chair going last.
I'll second.
You have to say that whole thing. Come on. Second. What do
Oh.
you second?
Oh, no, don't.
That's cruel.
I might get there.
Discussion or questions? Okay, then let's go ahead and do a roll call vote. I'll start with Jamie,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
and Christine's a yes. And a huge thank you.
Thank you,
Laura.
Laura.
All right.
Mm.
We are done with new business. We do not have old business. So let's move into, these are first readings of policies, and usually kind of how this is done is, okay, you have a first reading of policy, have a good night. We'll talk about it next. We talked last time about policies, and Krista has put information in there for us. She's done her, strikeouts, what she suggests for us to consider. This is first reading, so we really don't have to dive really deep in this evening, but I did ask if she would just give us a brief overview kind of each of these so that we had that while we really went in depth and hopefully voted next time on them. But I'll hand it over to you.
Perfect. So the first policy, BDA, is board meetings. This is an update. While it's an optional policy, there are updates to it. And so I thought rather than saying, oh, we have to follow it, but we don't have all the good updates to it, I thought we would do it. The grays are the updates, the gray highlighting. The red strikeouts are the ones that the OSBA lawyers have said, please take out. The just regular strikeouts are me saying, I don't actually really think we need them. So for example, if you go to page 2 of 5, you can see there's a strikeout. It's a black strikeout. It says requested do so at least 72 hours before a meeting held in public. The board will make a reasonable effort to provide translation services. We just, we could decide that translating the agenda minutes or other documents or public comment is sufficient. I don't think that we necessarily have a reason, just looking at history, that we need to have translation. So I think, like, why put something in there if it's really not something that we truly need?
And if somebody asked.
If somebody
then
asked,
we
we're
would
gonna do it.
And
Yeah.
It's not like we need a policy to say we're gonna.
Would
do the right
agree.
thing.
Would agree. I have highlighted in red, and this is for your consideration, that we just say the possession of dangerous or deadly weapons or firearms as defined in law and board policy is prohibited on district property. So that means, if somebody comes in here and you see that they have something, we would stop the meeting and say, we're not having it, and we would all leave. So I would say that I would have just in case.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
ask a question there?
Please.
Because our board policy actually allows concealed weapons
Mhm.
online, so, but this is as defined in law and board policy, so our board policy would say that they.
Yeah, well, a concealed
only if
carry,
you
you
have a-
shouldn't see it anyway,
Yeah,
Well, so
so.
you're saying it's like invisible type of.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
saying if
Like-
somebody
I'm trying to
walks in with
understand- I was just trying
something,
to-
I'm thinking we're like, hey, we're gonna stop.
Well,
We're
like
okay.
open,
some
open
random
carry
person
is
comes
in.
permitted in
Brandishing
Benton
something,
County.
stop the meeting.
Was there any language provided about recording devices?
There wasn't, but I do believe in the state of Oregon, it's illegal to not record without letting people know. I believe that is true in the state of Oregon. Nathan, do you know that? In the,
Well, it can't be admissible in court, but I don't know if it's
in
illegal.
the state of
but-
Oregon, I believe so. In the state of Oregon, it is illegal to record anybody without their knowledge, correct? Yeah, so if they just have it in their pocket and let's say they're like, I'm gonna take this to a lawyer, if they didn't announce that they were doing it, I don't believe that it.
The reason I asked that is in that seminar that we took in, was it August?
Mhm.
Forever.
They talked about people leaving them, say, on a shelf when they exit.
Oh, like executive session, yeah, yeah. That was a
That's
big
something
thing.
that we need to be
Yeah.
aware of and
Yes.
alert of. I just didn't know if there's any language
I didn't-
additions in regards to anything like that.
I didn't see any.
Okay.
I also think like it's, we've had a couple executive sessions that have started kind of when the board meeting started with that, with people in here, but I don't know, do we have to do that? Can't we
You have
just?
to, you have to start in,
Mhm.
you
Oh,
have to
okay.
start in a regular and then move, yeah.
Okay.
The other stuff, like I said, the reds with the high or the crossouts, that was the lawyer saying, please.
Get rid of that.
Take that out. I crossed out emails sent to other board members will have the following notice, and this is from you guys sending to each other, which I'm gonna say, I would really like you to not do that. Always send it to Laura, who will send it. Cause they also are now coming up with serial written communication. So I would say, I would take it out saying, don't email each other. Laura will always send the emails to you from each other. Like if the board chair is like, hey, I need to get this
Sure.
out, it will go through Laura. And
Okay.
I will always be CC'd on it as well. Okay, so that's what this one was. Like I said, it was optional, but I looked at it and it said, the school boards must follow public meeting laws of whether or not the board adopts this policy. I'm like, let's just adopt the policy. The next one is a local wellness. This is one of the findings that we have to fix from ODE, the food policy. They said, we would like to see your policy EFA. And Don's like, where's our policy EFA? And I was like, under the E's. And he's like, no, it's not. So we didn't have this policy. So, like I said, we need to, this is really what is required of us when we have a national school lunch program or school breakfast program. So I went through and everything in here pretty much, if I thought it would be something we should just take out, I X'd it out. It says that you could have a wellness advisory committee to advise the district and development review and the update of the local wellness policy. I'm gonna tell you, we are a small enough district. We have so many committees that, so we don't necessarily have to keep one, but we could do it where the board could look at it, the principals and myself or whoever with the teachers, we could use, our health teachers, so on and so forth. So I went through and crossed out things, highlighted and read what I think we should keep. Things that really shouldn't, like, for example, it says, this district somewhere in here, it's like the district will hold at least once a month a healthy movement activity night. I'm like, that's a lot. So just things like that.
Does this then transfer over to the concessions?
Not
By law?
necessarily. However, you can see there is something by fundraising that says that food and beverages that meet or exceed the nutrition standard may be sold through fundraisers on the school campus during the school day. So ultimately, like, for example, if we had a vending machine, which we can't in this building because we have kids under the age of 7th grade, the vending machines would actually have to be turned off during breakfast time and lunchtime because it's in competition with the food program. So ultimately what it's saying is that if you're fundraising, they really don't want you just to fundraise, for, food that's not good. And they also want you to try to fundraise other things. Putting water, it says that we're gonna make drinking water available during school meal times. A student with disabilities should have suitably adapted physical education. You have to do that anyways. It really just talks about how do you promote student wellness? What are some definitions? So this is a must that we currently don't have.
And I think the concessions thing, this refers to as during the school day.
Yeah.
So like sports concessions we can sell whatever we want.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to
No
put
no hot
undue
dogs.
hardship on a program
Take
that's
the hot
already
dogs away
struggling.
from the
It's-
kids, they're all
yeah.
gonna be mean.
No, it's really just during the school day when you have those lunches.
Okay.
You mean the nachos and cheese weren't healthy?
I know, what is the matter with you all?
I was like totally like,
With a little.
Well, some of the school lunches. I
my
wonder
wife
how they
was really
fit.
upset when they ran out. So I don't know.
The next one, the reimbursable meals and milk program, we actually have a policy EFAA, but we didn't have the EFAAR and actually the AR to it. And actually, I believe it's referred to in the local wellness policy. So this one really just talks more about, how we, for example, are managing our financial management. This is just kind of clearing up some stuff, how we get reimbursed. When we go look at page 4 on this, it talks about the offer versus serve options and what we have to have. So that's what this one is.
Did you make notes of my edits?
I did.
recommended?
The GCBDA and then the other one, the AR to that. This one is a highly recommended policy because of the family leave. And so it just talks about, the family medical leave. It talks about OFLA. It talks about paid. Oh, I can't even think the paid family medical leave insurance, which is that
Paid leave
new.
working.
Thank you. So it just kind of gives us that. And then it says as you can see on the AR version, it says the AR one is the one that says specifically for districts with between 25 and 50 employees. So it just kind of clears up some of those things. And then the paid family medical leave insurance, again, it's highly recommended. This is the paid organ. These ones are specifically with districts with 25 or more employees, which are us. And so this just kind of helps clear up stuff because if you don't know what paid organ is, it's where you get paid during I can't even think at this point, family leave.
Maternity, paternity.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than that, but yes.
Yeah.
it's-
Like death of family members, things
Mhm.
like that.
it expands them a little bit more.
One of the things I really do think that we need to have this is that it's not the district that administers it. They actually have to go to the state to do it. This actually defines that. One of the things I also think that will really help us, it defines what a family member leaves or what is, so on and so forth. But it also states what the contribution is. So like the employee, so I believe it's
60-40.
yeah, and so this automatically puts it in policy. So if we look in the future about, benefit package and stuff, this kind of already helps us with that particular piece. Paid organ, at my OSBA meeting last night, they already have used up within the first,
Oh, they're well over budget.
they're well over budget, 140% over budget. Which is going to be interesting then to see how it goes on that. But I thought we don't have something like this in our policy, and I think we need to. And then the last one is the resident student denial for virtual public starter. This is really just an update. We have this one already. This just updates what we have. So again, all of the highlighted gray is what our lawyers are saying. We should have. All the red that is crossed out is actually the lawyer saying that's what you don't need anymore. So I just wanted to put it in front of the board because we have this policy.
Thank you for just going over that really quick for us. So we can kind of put some context when we really dive in and read them. We have nothing under second reading. Any board comments this evening?
I think the open house was great.
Awesome. There were about
think-
100 and we are estimating about 150 people showed. I was
Yeah,
surprised.
I
It was like,
was-
holy moly.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was nice. Soren and Eric rolling out some nachos and his wife.
No, I just showed
I
up
know,
and
I
they needed
know.
a hand.
But
It's like,
it seemed like everybody was in a good place. Just having 3 kids in the school, they're pretty happy this year.
Awesome. Thank you.
So,
Yeah,
I
and
think
I
you're
have-
doing a good job and keep up the good work.
I have to give it, Sarah Littlefield actually planned that whole thing and she went shopping and so we're already kind of planning already something for December. We're thinking a STEM night, using our local STEM hub through the LBL ESD and doing I think it's important for us to really start getting events that families can come to and can do in the school that are educational, but bring them in to see where their kids are. Their kids are
Mhm.
here 9 hours a day. They need to see that.
and don't let Sarah Littlefield say she'll do it all herself.
I tried to tell her and she's like, I have plenty of, so.
Well, I think it was just nice, like even looking at the modeling clay and some of the talent some of these kids have.
Mhm.
It was just really nice to see like, what kids are doing and how they're doing it.
And it was great. It was interesting, because I actually think, I talked to a couple parents who were like, my kid's been going to school here for 3 years and we live in Corvallis and I've never really been here and I really wanted to come and see. So it's been really nice to see that. And so we're hoping we get that. Thank you. It was great. I was surprised by how many people showed up. So it was awesome.
I will just say good luck tomorrow night to our football boys. I hope the kids have a great dance and thank you to the teachers and chaperones and I'm
Mhm.
excited to hear. I'm sure I'll have a busy household afterwards, but it'll be great. So thank you to everybody for that.
Mm. I had to go dress shopping the other day. That was
Me too.
tragic.
Okay, let's talk about some key dates. It's homecoming week. Show up to the game tomorrow night. They will announce our court at halftime, which is really exciting.
What time's the game start?
6.
6. Okay.
When they say they, Racine means I will announce.
yeah.
There you
sorry.
go. There
Sorry.
you go.
Sorry. It's also meet your superintendent night. No, I'm just kidding. Our teachers have a work day tomorrow. October 18th is our work session at 6 p.m. October 27th is an in-service day, grading day. Mark your calendars for October 30th for hearing screenings on K1 and 3. And blood drive, if you can give, please do. And then our next normal meeting is the 16th at 7 p.m., November 16th at 7 p.m. With that, we will adjourn at 20:58. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.